He thought he knew everything about his wife until he found a video that shattered his world. Who was the man standing so close to her, smiling like he belonged? Tonight, every secret, every lie, and every hidden truth will come to light, and what he discovers next will change everything.
The house was quiet in the way only late nights could be. Not peaceful, just empty. The kind of silence that let thoughts echo too loudly. He dropped his keys into the ceramic bowl by the door, careful not to let them clatter. The bedroom light was off. His wife was already asleep or pretending to be. He didn't check. He never checked anymore. He loosened his tie, sat on the edge of the couch, and scrolled through his phone without purpose. News headlines, missed calls from work. A half-watched video he didn't remember starting. Life reduced to distraction. That was when the notification appeared. Unknown sender, no profile picture, no name. Just a single message. "You deserve the truth." He frowned, thumb hovering over the screen. Spam, he thought, some scam, some sick joke. He was about to swipe it away when he noticed the attachment beneath the text. A video file, short, 27 seconds long. His first instinct was irritation. His second was curiosity. The third was something colder, heavier, settling behind his ribs. He glanced toward the hallway. The bedroom door remained closed. The house breathed slowly around him. He turned the volume down, as if silence alone could protect him from what he hadn't yet seen. The screen went black for a moment. Then an image appeared, grainy and dim, filmed from an angle that felt wrong. Too low, too hidden. He recognized the couch immediately, the scuffed wooden table. The crooked lamp he kept meaning to fix. His living room, his pulse quickened. He sat up straighter, every nerve suddenly awake. The camera shifted slightly, like someone adjusting their grip. A woman stepped into the frame, laughing softly, brushing her hair behind her ear. Even before her face fully turned, he knew, his wife. She looked different on the screen, lighter, relaxed. The way she used to look before conversations became arguments, and silence filled the gaps between them. She said something, but the audio was muffled, distorted. Then another voice entered the room. Male, calm, confident. The edge of a brown sleeve crossed the frame. A logo flashed briefly, unmistakable even in the low resolution. His mouth went dry. His fingers tightened around the phone until it hurt. A strange memory surfaced, uninvited. Recent packages arriving early, her insistence on signing herself, the polite smiles he barely noticed. Details he had filed away as nothing now rearranged themselves into something else entirely. A deep unease crept through him, slow and deliberate. This wasn't accidental. Someone had stood inside his life, watching, recording, waiting. The realization pressed down on his chest, making each breath feel borrowed, temporary, as though the night itself had turned against him. The video froze mid-motion, the loading circle spinning endlessly over her smiling face. He tapped the screen once, twice. Nothing. Another message arrived immediately. "There's more," it read. He felt the moment before impact, when denial finally lost its grip entirely. He stared at the paused image, his own home turned into evidence, and realized whatever this was, it had already begun to destroy everything he thought he knew. He hesitated before pressing play again, his thumb hovering as if the screen might burn him. The paused image still showed her smile, frozen and unfamiliar, and he wondered how many moments like this had existed without him ever noticing. Slowly, deliberately, he tapped the screen. The video resumed with a faint rustle, fabric brushing against fabric. The camera angle shifted slightly, steadier now, suggesting whoever held it had settled into position. His wife crossed the room barefoot, moving with a comfort that felt rehearsed. She spoke again, her voice warped by distortion, yet the tone was unmistakably playful. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, breathing shallow. Every instinct told him to stop, to lock the phone and walk away, but his body refused. This was already inside him. There was no unseeing it now. A man stepped fully into frame. Not his face at first, just his torso, the familiar brown uniform filling the screen. The FedEx logo sat over his chest like a mark burned into memory. The man laughed quietly at something she said, close enough that their shoulders brushed. Too close. Something split open behind the husband's eyes. Jealousy came first, sharp and immediate. Then confusion. then a slow, nauseating understanding that this wasn't spontaneous. This wasn't a mistake caught on camera. This was a scene that had played before. The man rested his hand casually on the back of the couch, the same couch where the husband had slept during their last argument. The camera dipped for a second, catching their reflections in the dark television screen. Together, they looked like a couple, familiar, intimate. His wife glanced toward the camera only briefly. The look on her face wasn't shock or fear. It was awareness, as if she knew she was being watched, even if she didn't know by whom. The video cut to a closer angle. The sound sharpened. Her laughter stopped. Words became clearer, though still incomplete, fragments slipping through the distortion. His name was never said, not once. His heart pounded harder with every second. He realized he was counting his breaths, afraid one might turn into a sound that would wake her down the hall. He pictured her sleeping peacefully while this unfolded inches from his face. Then the man's voice dropped lower. Whatever he said made her stiffen. The ease vanished from her body, replaced by hesitation. She shook her head slightly. The man leaned closer anyway, blocking the camera's view of her face. The husband's fingers trembled. Anger surged, hot and reckless, but it tangled with something colder he hadn't expected: dread. This moment felt wrong in a way that went beyond betrayal. The screen glitched. Static crawled across the image. For a second, the camera slipped, showing the corner of the room, the doorway, the hallway leading toward the bedrooms. Toward him. The video ended abruptly. The screen went black, reflecting his own face back at him, pale and hollow-eyed. He didn't move. He barely breathed. The silence returned heavier than before. Another vibration shattered it. A new message appeared beneath the last. "Press play on the next one when you're ready," it read. He understood then this was only the beginning, and whatever waited in the next video would be far worse.
He didn't press play on anything else that night. Instead, he sat there while the screen dimmed, letting the past surface on its own. Once the video ended, memories began replaying without permission. Scenes he had lived through, but never truly seen. It felt like rewinding a marriage frame by frame, noticing what had always been there, hidden in plain sight. They hadn't always been like this. There had been warmth once, laughter that filled rooms instead of silence. He remembered early mornings when she used to steal his shirts, the way she leaned into him without thinking. Back then, love was instinctive, effortless. Somewhere along the way, it became work, and then it became something else entirely. The distance didn't arrive all at once. It crept in quietly, disguised as exhaustion, stress, routine. She started staying up later than him. Conversations shortened. Touch became accidental instead of intentional. When he asked if something was wrong, she smiled and said she was just tired. He believed her because believing was easier than pushing. Arguments replaced affection, but even those felt controlled, rehearsed. She never raised her voice, never cried. She stayed calm while he unraveled, which made him feel like the unreasonable one. After fights, she withdrew, retreating into herself, locking her phone, guarding her thoughts. He told himself this was normal. Couples changed, marriages evolved. Now those moments returned with sharper edges. Late deliveries he hadn't questioned, her insistence on answering the door herself, the way she started showering immediately after coming home. Each memory rearranged itself, forming a pattern he didn't want to recognize. He remembered the first night he slept on the couch. He told himself it was temporary. She hadn't protested. She'd simply turned away, her back rigid, as if the space between them was already permanent. The couch beneath him in the video was the same one that held his body while she stood laughing with someone else. The realization burned slowly. This hadn't started because their marriage was broken. The marriage had broken because something else had already begun. A secret life running parallel to his own, hidden behind familiar walls and shared routines. He replayed conversations in his head, hearing them differently now. Her sudden concern for privacy, her vague explanations, the way she looked relieved whenever he worked late. He had mistaken detachment for independence, silence for peace. What unsettled him most wasn't just the betrayal, it was how carefully she had maintained the illusion, how she could sit across from him at dinner, discuss groceries and bills, while knowing what waited inside her phone, inside someone else's packet. A memory surfaced of her watching him one night, her expression unreadable. He'd asked what she was thinking. She said nothing. At the time, he thought it meant trust. Now he wondered if it meant guilt or calculation. The video hadn't shown love. It had shown familiarity, comfort, repetition. That realization hurt more than passion ever could. This wasn't a single mistake. It was a relationship with its own habits, its own rhythm, woven quietly into the gaps of their marriage. He stood and walked through the living room, seeing it differently now. Every object felt complicit. The walls felt thinner. The house felt smaller, like it had been holding secrets long before he knew how to listen. Back on the couch, his phone vibrated again, though no new message appeared, just the weight of expectation. He knew there were more videos, more moments waiting to be uncovered, and with each one, the story of his marriage would unravel further. He stared down the hallway toward the bedroom door, realizing that the woman sleeping there was no longer someone he fully knew, and that the next truth would finally show him who she had been all along. By morning, sleep had become impossible. The husband moved through the house quietly, as if noise itself might trigger another revelation. The hallway felt longer now, heavier. He poured coffee he didn't drink, stood by the window he didn't see through, and kept thinking about the uniform. Brown fabric, a simple logo, something designed to blend into the background of daily life. He realized he had seen the man before, not clearly, not memorably, just enough to be dangerous. A polite nod at the door, a casual "have a good day," a presence so ordinary it never registered as a threat. That was the trick. Nothing about him demanded attention. The husband opened the delivery app on his phone and scrolled through past orders, dates, times, signatures. A pattern emerged the longer he stared. Packages that arrived earlier than scheduled, deliveries made when he was at work, signatures that weren't his, hers. Each confirmation felt like another quiet accusation. He remembered coming home to find boxes already opened, items already put away. She'd said she didn't want them cluttering the entryway. He hadn't argued. He rarely did anymore. The man in brown wasn't just delivering packages, he was delivering opportunity. The husband replayed the video again, focusing this time not on his wife, but on the man beside her. The way he leaned comfortably against the couch, the way he occupied space that didn't belong to him. This wasn't a stranger crossing a boundary for the first time. This was someone who knew where to stand. It made his skin crawl. He searched the company website, scanning employee photos, driver profiles, anything that might give the man a name. There were too many faces, too many uniforms. The anonymity felt intentional, like a shield. Later that afternoon, he checked the building's security app. He had installed it years ago and barely used it. Now it opened like a confession. He scrolled through motion alerts, rewinding footage from weeks earlier. There he was, the same brown uniform, the same confident walk. But something was wrong. On several days, the man entered without carrying a package. The husband paused the footage, heart pounding. The timestamp showed mid-afternoon. He knew he'd been at work. He knew his wife had been home. The camera showed the door closing behind the man, then nothing for nearly 20 minutes. 20 minutes of silence that suddenly felt very loud. Anger rose, but it wasn't wild. It was focused, heavy, the kind that settled deep and stayed there. He imagined the conversations that must have taken place, the familiarity, the ease. How long had this been happening? The man hadn't forced his way in. He'd been invited. That truth hurt more than anything else. It meant trust had been extended deliberately, repeatedly. It meant the danger wasn't accidental. It was chosen. The husband sat back, rubbing his temples. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about access. Someone had been allowed inside his life under the disguise of routine. Someone who knew his schedule, his absence, his blind spots. His phone buzzed again. Another message from the same unknown sender appeared. "You should check the days with no deliveries," it read. The husband stared at the screen, realizing whoever was guiding him knew exactly where to look, and that the man in brown was only the beginning of what he was about to uncover. He waited until night, until the house returned to the same uneasy quiet where everything had begun. The evidence sat heavy inside him all day, pressing against his ribs, demanding release. When he heard the bedroom door open and her footsteps move toward the kitchen, he knew there would be no more delaying it. She poured herself a glass of water, her movements calm, routine. She didn't notice him at first, standing in the living room shadows like a stranger. When she finally looked up, her expression shifted, just slightly. Not fear, not guilt, awareness. "What's wrong?" she asked. Her voice was steady, practiced. That steadiness ignited something in him. "We need to talk," he said. She hesitated, then set the glass down slowly, as if careful motions could control the moment. "About what?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked past her, picked up his phone from the table, and placed it between them. The screen lit up with the frozen frame of the video, her face, her smile, her breath caught. Silence stretched, thick, unforgiving. "Where did you get that?" she whispered. He studied her carefully. The question told him everything. Not, "What is this?" Not, "That's not what it looks like." Just, "Where?" "So it's real," he said quietly. She closed her eyes for a moment, like someone bracing for impact. When she opened them again, the calm was gone. Something raw replaced it. Fear, maybe, or calculation. "It's not what you think," she said. He laughed once, sharply, the sound unfamiliar even to himself. "I watched you, in our house." She stepped back, shaking her head. "You don't understand how it started." "Then explain it," he said. "Explain him." Her shoulders tensed at the word. She looked away, toward the hallway, as if considering escape. When she spoke again, her voice was lower. "He was just a delivery guy at first, that's all." At first. The words landed like a confession disguised as reassurance. "You let him inside," he said. She swallowed. "You weren't home." That didn't answer the question. She hugged her arms around herself, a gesture he had once found endearing. Now it felt rehearsed. "He talked to me. He listened. He noticed things you didn't." Anger flared, hot and fast. "So that justifies this?" "No," she snapped, "but don't act like you were here. You were always working, always tired, always somewhere else." He felt the argument shift, twist toward familiar ground. Blame, deflection, the same conversations they'd had before, now sharpened by truth. "I trusted you." Her voice cracked. "I didn't mean for it to go that far." "How far did it go?" he asked. She hesitated. Too long. His chest tightened. "Tell me." She shook her head slowly. "You don't want to know." The admission hung between them, poisonous and heavy. He stepped closer. He's been here when no packages were scheduled. Her eyes widened just slightly. How do you... Answer me. She looked down. Sometimes. How long? Another pause. Longer this time. Months. The word echoed. Months of lies, months of routine betrayal. Did he record you? He asked suddenly. Her head snapped up. What? The video. Did you know you were being filmed? Her face drained of color. No. The certainty in her voice startled him. I swear, I didn't know. I would never. Her denial felt different, urgent, real. Fear crept in, cold and unwelcome. Then who sent it to me? She shook her head, tears forming now. I don't know. For the first time, he believed her, and that frightened him more than any lie. He stepped back, the weight of the situation crashing down at once. This wasn't just an affair, this was something darker, something controlled. She reached for him desperately. Please, you don't know what he's capable of. He pulled away. Outside, a truck engine passed in the distance. Brown, familiar. And suddenly, the confrontation felt far from over.
He didn't sleep that night. The warning in her voice followed him through the dark, echoing louder than the confrontation itself. By morning, fear had replaced anger, sharpening his focus. Someone else knew. Someone else had been close enough to see what he had missed. The thought refused to let go. The message arrived just after sunrise. No greeting, no explanation, just a sentence that felt like a confession forced into the open. I tried to stop him. He didn't listen. Beneath it was a name he didn't recognize and a number that felt heavier than any evidence. He stared at the screen for a long time before replying. Who are you? The response came quickly, as if she'd been waiting. Someone who thought she was the only one. His stomach tightened. The truth was unfolding sideways now, revealing shapes he hadn't prepared for. They spoke in fragments at first, short messages, cautious admissions. She never used the man's name, only him, as if saying it might summon something dangerous. She told him she lived 3 neighborhoods away, that the uniform had made her feel safe, familiar, unthreatening. That was how it always started. She explained how conversations became routine, how routine became expectation. He listened, he noticed, he asked questions that felt personal, caring. When she hesitated, he waited. When she pulled away, he didn't chase. That patience, she said, had been the hook. Then came the recording. She hadn't known at first, not until he mentioned it casually, like leverage he didn't need to use yet. When she confronted him, he smiled, told her it was protection, told her no one would ever see it unless she made him. That was when she tried to leave. He didn't let her. The husband felt something cold move through him as he read. This wasn't seduction, it was strategy. The man in brown wasn't collecting moments, he was collecting control. She told him she'd found out about the wife by accident, hearing another woman's voice in the background during a call. That was when she realized the pattern wasn't personal, it was practiced. When she warned the wife anonymously, nothing changed. Fear had already taken root there. I sent you the video because I didn't know what else to do, she wrote. Someone had to see it from the outside. He closed his eyes, breathing slowly. The pieces were finally forming something complete. His wife hadn't been chosen because she was careless. She'd been chosen because she was vulnerable, isolated, predictable. Is there anyone else? He asked. The typing dots appeared, disappeared, then returned. I think so, she replied. I stopped counting after 3. The scale of it left him dizzy.
This wasn't a secret affair unraveling. It was a pattern of harm hidden behind routine smiles and scheduled deliveries. The man had turned access into a weapon. She warned him not to confront the driver again, told him the man thrived on pressure, on reactions, that exposure was the only thing he feared, and even that came with risks. He plans everything, she wrote, including being caught. When the conversation ended, the husband sat alone, staring at the wall. The house felt smaller now, less like shelter and more like a stage where something had been playing long before he noticed. His phone buzzed one final time. A new message from the unknown sender appeared, calm and precise. "You're not the only one watching him now." And suddenly, the husband understood that the truth was no longer just his to uncover, and that someone else was already several steps ahead.
Sleep stopped coming altogether. When it did, it arrived in fragments, sharp and disjointed, dreams dissolving into half-remembered images of brown fabric and locked doors. The husband began measuring time differently, not by hours, but by how long he could sit still before his thoughts collapsed inward. Silence no longer rested, it watched. During the day, he moved through familiar places like an intruder: the grocery store, the sidewalk, his office desk. Everything felt staged, artificial, as if he were performing a version of himself while something else observed from behind his eyes. Conversations blurred, faces lost meaning. He nodded when expected, smiled when required, and felt nothing settle properly inside him. At night, the images returned. The video replayed without permission, details shifting each time. He noticed new things now: the angle of the camera, the steadiness of the frame, the deliberate choice of when to stop recording. This wasn't impulsive, it was controlled. The more he understood that, the more his thoughts began to fracture. He stopped trusting memory. Moments from his marriage resurfaced and rewrote themselves. Her laughter at her phone, her sudden irritation when he touched her unexpectedly, the way she flinched when the doorbell rang. Each recollection felt altered, as if someone had tampered with the past while he wasn't looking. He began checking the locks repeatedly. Once wasn't enough. Twice felt irresponsible. 3 times felt necessary. He scanned rooms before sitting down, watched reflections in dark screens, listened for footsteps that never came. Awareness sharpened into vigilance, then slipped into something closer to paranoia. The man in brown started appearing everywhere. Not the real one, his shadow. A uniform across the street, a delivery truck idling too long, a stranger lingering at the entrance of the building. Logic told him coincidence. His body didn't believe logic anymore. He returned to the security footage, watching hours at a time, fast-forwarding, rewinding, slowing frames until motion dissolved into stillness. He learned the driver's habits, the way he adjusted his cap, the side of the truck he favored, the pauses he took before knocking, as if listening first. Patterns calmed him. Patterns meant predictability, but predictability also meant obsession. His wife noticed the change. She asked fewer questions now, spoke softly as if volume alone might break him. He avoided her gaze, not out of anger, but fear. Seeing her meant remembering what had been taken, and worse, what had been manipulated into place. One afternoon, he followed the truck. He didn't plan it, he simply found himself behind it, hands tight on the wheel, heart beating too fast. The route wasn't unfamiliar, streets he knew, turns he'd driven before. Then the truck slowed and pulled over somewhere unexpected. Not a house, an apartment complex. He parked across the street, pulse thundering, watching the driver step out.
No package in hand, no scanner, just his phone. The man checked his surroundings, unhurried, then disappeared inside. Minutes passed, then more. The husband's mind raced ahead, filling the silence with possibilities. Another woman, another living room, another recording waiting to be made. He felt a surge of nausea mixed with clarity. This wasn't about his marriage anymore. It was about stopping a pattern before it consumed something else. His phone buzzed. A message from the unknown sender appeared, brief and precise. "You see it now." He looked back at the building entrance, realizing he wasn't just watching anymore. He was being guided, pushed closer to a line he hadn't yet decided whether to cross. When the driver finally emerged, the husband didn't move. He let the truck drive away, knowing the next step wouldn't be passive observation. Something inside him had shifted, and once cracks formed, they never stayed contained.
Sleep stopped coming altogether. When it did, it arrived in fragments, sharp and disjointed, dreams dissolving into half-remembered images of brown fabric and locked doors. The husband began measuring time differently, not by hours, but by how long he could sit still before his thoughts collapsed inward. Silence no longer rested, it watched. During the day, he moved through familiar places like an intruder. The grocery store, the sidewalk, his office desk. Everything felt staged, artificial, as if he were performing a version of himself while something else observed from behind his eyes. Conversations blurred, faces lost meaning. He nodded when expected, smiled when required, and felt nothing settle properly inside him. At night, the images returned. The video replayed without permission, details shifting each time. He noticed new things now: the angle of the camera, the steadiness of the frame, the deliberate choice of when to stop recording. This wasn't impulsive, it was controlled. The more he understood that, the more his thoughts began to fracture. He stopped trusting memory. Moments from his marriage resurfaced and rewrote themselves. Her laughter at her phone, her sudden irritation when he touched her unexpectedly, the way she flinched when the doorbell rang. Each recollection felt altered, as if someone had tampered with the past while he wasn't looking. He began checking the locks repeatedly. Once wasn't enough. Twice felt irresponsible. 3 times felt necessary. He scanned rooms before sitting down, watched reflections in dark screens, listened for footsteps that never came. Awareness sharpened into vigilance, then slipped into something closer to paranoia. The man in brown started appearing everywhere, not the real one, his shadow. A uniform across the street, a delivery truck idling too long, a stranger lingering at the entrance of the building. Logic told him coincidence. His body didn't believe logic anymore. He returned to the security footage, watching hours at a time, fast-forwarding, rewinding, slowing frames until motion dissolved into stillness. He learned the driver's habits, the way he adjusted his cap, the side of the truck he favored, the pauses he took before knocking, as if listening first. Patterns calmed him. Patterns meant predictability, but predictability also meant obsession. His wife noticed the change. She asked fewer questions now, spoke softly as if volume alone might break him. He avoided her gaze, not out of anger, but fear. Seeing her meant remembering what had been taken, and worse, what had been manipulated into place. One afternoon, he followed the truck. He didn't plan it, he simply found himself behind it, hands tight on the wheel, heart beating too fast. The route wasn't unfamiliar, streets he knew, turns he'd driven before. Then the truck slowed and pulled over somewhere unexpected. Not a house, an apartment complex. He parked across the street,
pulse thundering, watching the driver step out. No package in hand, no scanner, just his phone. The man checked his surroundings, unhurried, then disappeared inside. Minutes passed, then more. The husband's mind raced ahead, filling the silence with possibilities. Another woman, another living room, another recording waiting to be made. He felt a surge of nausea mixed with clarity. This wasn't about his marriage anymore. It was about stopping a pattern before it consumed something else. His phone buzzed. A message from the unknown sender appeared, brief and precise. "You see it now." He looked back at the building entrance, realizing he wasn't just watching anymore. He was being guided, pushed closer to a line he hadn't yet decided whether to cross. When the driver finally emerged, the husband didn't move. He let the truck drive away, knowing the next step wouldn't be passive observation. Something inside him had shifted, and once cracks formed, they never stayed contained.
The next video arrived without warning, late in the night when the house felt hollowed out by absence and fear. His thumb hovered over the screen longer than usual, muscles tense, pulse accelerating. The first few frames appeared black, and he almost closed it. Almost. But something inside him demanded he see it. Every message, every warning, every fragment of truth had led to this moment. The video opened on a familiar scene, the living room, dimly lit, the same couch, the same crooked lamp. But something was missing. The camera angle was different, wider. He could see corners of the room he had never noticed, shelves, the small stack of unopened mail, the reflection of the window behind them. It wasn't just a recording anymore. It was surveillance, intimate, precise, deliberate. He recognized the movements immediately. Her laugh, the casual brush of her hair, the way she reached for the remote. Then the man in brown entered the frame, quieter this time, slower, as if rehearsed. But the camera didn't follow him directly. Instead, it lingered on what he did not show. The edges, the shadows, the small details that betrayed the true nature of their encounters. The husband's chest tightened. He noticed the subtle gestures the camera omitted, the hesitant glance she gave him before he arrived, the brief pause in her laughter, the tension in her fingers as they touched the couch cushions. The camera recorded everything visible, but left the gaps for imagination. That omission was what made it unbearable. It showed proximity, but not consent, presence, but not intention, familiarity, but not the choices that led there. Every scene felt incomplete, curated to reveal and conceal simultaneously. The silence between movements became louder than sound. He realized that what the camera didn't show, her fear, the hesitation, the moments when she tried to pull away, was the story he needed to witness. Memories of his own inaction surged, all the nights he had ignored small signs, all the times he assumed distance was indifference, not survival. Every smile, every shrug, every casual excuse now rearranged itself into evidence of unspoken compromise. And yet, the absence of those details on camera also sparked another truth. He could see it now. He could finally understand the fractures, the manipulations, the pattern of control. The video continued, but the edges grew darker, the audio distorted. The man in brown moved with confidence, but always within a frame designed to protect himself from detection. The husband noticed the empty spaces, the narrow hallways, the corners behind furniture, places the camera never pointed. He realized that the man's skill lay in what he omitted, what the world couldn't see, he controlled. Suddenly, the phone buzzed, breaking the spell. A new message appeared. Pay attention to what you don't see. He stared at the screen, understanding. The evidence wasn't just in what had been captured, but in what had been left unseen. The omissions were deliberate. Each gap, each shadowed corner, every silence told more than motion ever could.
He leaned back, the weight of comprehension pressing down. For the first time, he recognized the scale of what had been orchestrated around him. Every act of intrusion, every quiet moment, every smile in his own home had been layered with unseen intention. The camera could never capture betrayal's full depth. He had to witness it himself. A sound outside made him freeze. The faint rumble of a delivery truck, the echo of tires on the asphalt. He looked toward the window, heart racing, and in that instant, he understood that the unseen threat was still there, waiting, watching, always beyond the frame. The message glowed again. It's closer than you think. And he realized that understanding the gaps was only the beginning. The next truth would demand action, and the camera had nothing left to show him.
He couldn't ignore it any longer. The days had blurred into nights, the nights into restless hours filled with surveillance, messages, and memories twisted by fear. Every quiet moment felt like a lie waiting to be uncovered, and every familiar object in the house seemed complicit. The couch, the crooked lamp, even the doorway to the bedroom, each held pieces of a story he had been forced to reconstruct. He had reached a point where passivity no longer sufficed. That evening, he sat in the living room with the phone in his hand, replaying fragments of every video he had received. Frames overlapped in his mind. He noticed details that had previously escaped him. The man in brown's subtle smirks, the careful positioning of his phone to avoid detection, his wife's fleeting glances that betrayed fear hidden beneath forced calm. Each repetition built a mounting pressure, a weight pressing down until he could hardly breathe. He remembered every small sign he had overlooked, the late deliveries, the packages she insisted on signing herself, her tense posture when he entered the room unexpectedly. He realized now that the man in brown had never truly been a delivery driver in his marriage. He had been a ghost, a shadow threading through their lives, manipulating, observing, controlling. His wife had been trapped within a structure he hadn't seen, while he had assumed distance meant normalcy. The breaking point didn't arrive with anger. It arrived as clarity. A cold, precise understanding that the only way to reclaim agency was to confront the source. Not the videos, not the messages, not the orchestrated chaos, but him, the man in brown, the intruder who had turned ordinary trust into calculated weaponry. He gathered every piece of evidence, every frame, every timestamp, every message. He studied the patterns, rehearsed confrontations, anticipated movements. He traced the driver's routes, revisited the security footage, and memorized the moments when the man moved outside the expected schedule. Every step the intruder had taken was predictable. Every lapse could be exploited. When night fell, the house was a different place. Every shadow became a guide, every sound a signal. He moved methodically, preparing for the inevitable. His wife watched from the bedroom doorway, silent and wary. He didn't speak. She didn't ask. Words had become useless. Only action mattered now. Outside, the familiar hum of a delivery truck approached. Brown fabric. The logo gleamed faintly under the streetlight. The husband's pulse quickened. He remained hidden in the shadows, hands steady despite the storm inside him. This was the culmination of weeks, months of surveillance, fear, and fragmented truths. There was no room for hesitation. The truck stopped. The man in brown stepped out, casual as ever, scanning his surroundings. He didn't know that someone was watching now, someone who had reconstructed every move, every delivery, every false smile. The intruder had relied on predictability, and predictability had become his weakness. The husband followed silently, moving with precision, anticipation tempered by caution.
The night felt suspended, stretched thin by tension. Every step, every breath, every glance carried the weight of exposure. The man in brown walked toward the apartment complex, unaware that the boundaries he had so carefully respected had shifted. The hunter had become the observed. Back inside, his wife watched him through the doorway, fear and hope intertwined in her expression. She understood that this night could change everything, that the confrontation would either dismantle the control the man held or escalate beyond comprehension. She remained silent, knowing her role was now witness, not participant. The message that had haunted him for days glowed on his phone. "It's closer than you think." He pocketed it. Clarity replaced fear. Action replaced paralysis. And as the intruder disappeared into the building, the husband stepped into the shadows, ready to cross the threshold that would finally decide the story of their lives. The breaking point had arrived. Nothing would be the same after this night. Every secret, every omission, every calculated pause would meet consequence. The story that had unfolded in silence, in shadows, and behind cameras was about to move into the light. Outside, the faint glow of the street lamp illuminated a path that only he could walk. The man in brown had planned everything meticulously, but he hadn't accounted for the inevitable. And in the next moments, the truth would finally assert itself.
The night had thickened into something almost physical, pressing against him as he followed the intruder through the deserted streets. Each step was measured, deliberate, the rhythm of his heart matching the faint echo of tires on asphalt behind the building. He didn't speak, didn't signal, didn't hesitate. Weeks of surveillance, weeks of fear and frustration had distilled into a single, unavoidable moment. The choice was clear: confrontation or collapse, exposure or continued deception. Inside the building, the man in brown moved with the same casual confidence he always had. The intruder had mastered invisibility, exploiting trust and routine to manipulate those around him. But this night, he would be the observed. The husband's presence, though hidden in shadow, altered the dynamics of the room before the intruder even sensed it. The calculated distance he had maintained now worked against him. The husband's mind raced as he approached the doorway to the man's temporary refuge. The building smelled faintly of dust and linoleum, mixed with the metallic tang of anticipation. Every detail mattered: the slight creak of the stairwell, the echo of footsteps, the faint hum of a refrigerator down the hall. He felt the weight of accumulated truths pressing him forward, yet something darker surged beneath it. The raw, unshaped anger that came from being violated repeatedly, silently, deliberately. He watched through the peephole. There the man was, leaning against the counter, phone in hand, unaware of the presence outside the door. His calm, almost practiced ease made the husband's skin crawl. Every gesture, every casual smirk had been rehearsed to maintain control. But tonight, control had shifted. A surge of clarity hit him. He didn't need to speak yet. He didn't need to attack. Observation itself was power. The intruder had relied on visibility, on predictability, and the husband now had both in excess. He cataloged every motion, every minor tick, until it formed a map of vulnerabilities. And then he thought of his wife, of the fractured trust, the whispered warnings, the anonymous messages that had guided him. Each insight became a thread, weaving together a narrative that the videos, the surveillance, and the manipulation had only partially revealed. He realized that confronting the man wouldn't just be about vengeance, it would be about reclaiming the narrative, exposing the truth that had been hidden behind routine and routine deception. A step, another. The hallway creaked. The man in brown looked up, instinctively scanning, but saw nothing. The husband's patience held him in place. He breathed slowly, counting, allowing anger to sharpen without consuming judgment.
The phone buzzed once in his pocket. A new message from the unknown sender appeared, brief and precise. Decide, blood or truth. The words struck him with the weight of inevitability. Every suppressed suspicion, every long night of reconstruction boiled down to this: force or revelation. He realized that action could take two forms. One would leave damage behind, permanent and irreversible. One would expose the pattern, the manipulation, the orchestrated control, and force accountability without immediate violence. He weighed both options, knowing the choice would define not just the night, but the entire trajectory of his life and his marriage. The man in brown shifted again, phone still in hand. In that instant, the husband understood that his patience had given him power. He could wait for the intruder to make a misstep, to reveal weakness, to inadvertently confess through complacency. Or he could act now, letting instinct and emotion dictate consequence. The corridor seemed to stretch endlessly, the building holding its breath. Shadows pooled at the edges, making the space between them feel almost unreal. One decision would set events in motion that could never be reversed. He inhaled deeply, realizing that the breaking point had already passed. What remained was choice, whether to let rage dictate the outcome or to wield knowledge like a scalpel, cutting away the deception without destroying what remained. With that, he stepped forward, hand steady, eyes fixed. The night had narrowed to a single path, and the husband understood that whatever followed, the man in brown would finally face the consequences of all he had hidden. Blood or truth. Only one could define what the night would take from them all.
The silence that followed the confrontation was heavier than any sound he had ever known. The man in brown was gone, either fled or captured, but the echoes of his presence lingered in the air like smoke that refused to dissipate. The husband leaned against the wall, breathing shallowly, trying to reclaim the parts of himself that had been consumed by fear, anger, and months of quiet surveillance. Every nerve still thrummed, every memory replayed, every shadow seemed to hold secrets he had yet to uncover. His phone buzzed. Another message from the unknown sender appeared. It's done. For now. He stared at the words, realizing that the phrase carried more weight than it should. The man was gone, but the consequences would not vanish so easily. Months of manipulation, control, and violation could not be erased. The night had ended, but the story, the unraveling of trust, was far from complete. He walked through the living room, eyes scanning familiar furniture, walls and corners with a wariness that had become second nature. The crooked lamp, the stack of unopened mail, the couch where he had once slept to avoid confrontation, now an emblem of all that had been betrayed. He felt as if he were seeing the house for the first time, understanding the subtle patterns of deceit that had been layered into everyday life. In the kitchen, his wife sat silently at the table, hands wrapped around a mug of cold coffee. Her eyes, red-rimmed and cautious, met his. There was no relief, no triumph, only a raw, fragile awareness of everything that had been lost and altered. Words were unnecessary. Both knew that the confrontation had changed everything, yet nothing at all. He sat across from her, the space between them thick with unspoken admissions. The truth was out, fully revealed. The videos, the messages, the patterns, and the anonymous warnings, all of it now formed a single narrative. They could no longer pretend. They could no longer avoid the magnitude of what had occurred in their home, in their marriage, in the quiet spaces where trust had once lived. "It's over," he said quietly, though even as the words left his mouth, they felt provisional. Over was only a word, a temporary relief from the tension that had consumed their lives. The real work, the reconstruction of reality, of safety, of understanding, had only just begun. She nodded slowly, letting her gaze drop to the table. I didn't know," she whispered. The words were more than an explanation. They were an attempt at absolution, a fragile bridge across the ruins of their relationship. He exhaled, considering how fragile life had become under the weight of secrecy and surveillance. The man in brown had not only violated their home, he had exposed the cracks they had ignored for too long. Every overlooked sign, every small lie, every unasked question now seemed to carry the weight of inevitability. The truth had revealed not just the intruder, but the fragility of the life they had thought secure. Outside, the night settled into calm. The street lamp outside the window cast long shadows across the room, turning familiar furniture into unfamiliar shapes. He realized that even after the confrontation, vigilance could not vanish. He would always be aware, always scanning, always questioning. That awareness, though exhausting, was the cost of survival, the price of reclaiming agency. Hours passed. Words were spoken in fragments, apologies, clarifications, explanations of what had been missed and why. The husband and wife moved carefully through these conversations, each sentence an attempt to map the new terrain of trust. But even as they spoke, a subtle tension lingered, the presence of absence, the knowledge that lives had been observed and altered without consent, the awareness that the past could never be fully rewritten. He sat back, finally allowing exhaustion to touch him. The adrenaline faded, leaving a hollow ache that stretched deep into his chest. He realized that the breaking point had not just been confrontation with the intruder. It had been confrontation with reality itself, with fear, with betrayal, with his own lapses of attention, and with the unexpected resilience of his wife. The phone buzzed once more. Another message, brief and precise. Some things remain hidden. Some truths remain yours to guard. He read it, understanding that the story was not entirely complete. There were shadows yet unlit, corners still unexplored, but for the first time, he felt a measure of control, a sense that the narrative had shifted in their favor. He looked at his wife, then around the room that once had been a stage for secrecy, and realized that the aftermath of truth was not peace, it was awareness. A fragile, hard-won awareness that demanded vigilance, courage, and the willingness to face every shadow, every gap, every silence that remained. Outside, the world moved on, indifferent. Inside, they sat together, bound by the understanding that some nights end in revelation, but the echoes of what is uncovered never truly fade. And in that quiet, tentative understanding, the husband resolved to rebuild, not just a home, but a marriage tempered by truth, fragile but alive, and forever altered by what had been revealed.